Hello, writers. Have you ever bought a writing craft book someone says you just have to read?
Is it still sitting on your shelf? Have you even cracked the spine?
That's totally me.
Don't ask Renee how many craft books she owns.
Why do we keep buying these books we never read?
We all want to improve as writers, but that's hard to do alone.
That's why we started the Words to Write By podcast, to tackle these books together, chapter by chapter, and learn from their advice.
Or not. Sometimes they're wrong.
Hi, I'm Renee Nelson, former college writing instructor turned full-time writer and podcaster. After many years, I finally have a complete draft of my memoir.
And I'm Kim Smugato, author of the humorous fantasy novel Our Comeback Tour is Slaying Monsters, which is the first book in the Boy Bands and Dragons series, released by Riverfolk Publishing.
And now, on with the podcast.
Welcome to Words to Write By.
We are now on chapter 4, week 4 of Julia Cameron's The Artist Ray. It's called Recovering a Sense of Integrity.
We've done several craft books by now, and there's kind of a sense after the first opening, because the openings are very positive, are very intriguing, like there's stuff we want, and then you get a certain, maybe a fourth of the way into the book or something, and you realize you've committed to reading this thing, and sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes
it's not.
I still want to read this book, and I still want to read it carefully because it has helped so many people. It is so positive. My friend that follows the podcast was looking to get it from the library, and there were 10 people on the waiting list. And
Wow.
she went to a used bookstore, and they didn't have it. And
It's popular.
it's popular still. It's 30 years old, and people are still picking it up and being really serious about it.
I really have no idea why. We are on week 4, and Kim might be enjoying it, and you guys might be in her camp, but there are some listeners that are in my camp. And we will go into that today. But before we do, did you know that we have a process group?
We have a process group?
We do. Did you know that it starts at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time?
Pacific Standard Time. That's California time.
Yes. Yes.
It is a group of writers that get together over Zoom, and we don't critique each other's writing, but we talk about aspects of our life. I came to the group and said, listen, I'm really feeling burnt out. I feel like I'm blocked. What can I do? And it really helped talking to them. I don't know if they actually gave me suggestions, but somehow just having a place to talk about it helped me kind of recalibrate and get back into stuff.
Over Zoom, you say?
But where can I find this link, Renee?
Just so happens that we have a banner on our website. Or you can just go to beatup.com and look up Words to Write By Process Group, and there it will be.
There it will be.
And there we will be.
There's 2 of us, so there's a guarantee that at least one of us is available, and usually it's both of us.
One of us will always be there, but both of us are most likely going to be there. All right.
Week 4, Recovering a Sense of Integrity. I highlighted the essays, tasks, and exercises that are designed to catapult you into productive introspection and integration of new self-awareness. This book promises a lot.
It is very presumptuous. That's what I would call this chapter. Recovering from a sense of Julia Cameron's presumptuousness.
Some of the stuff she's talking about is real, but the idea that her book would be the thing that allows you to get that real feeling strikes me as odd.
Well, first, wait, we forgot. We have to do the check-in from the previous
check-in.
week. So how many days this week did you do your morning pages?
I've been doing them pretty much consistently, but I've been taking off weekends.
Okay.
So sometimes I do them on the weekends, but other times I've got other stuff going on. I don't do them.
How was your experience?
What I'm liking about the morning pages is that it requires absolutely no creativity or extended motivation. It's a bit like my exercise classes. I've gotten to the habit enough of getting into my car, driving to exercise class, and then just trusting that somebody else is going to make sure I'm exercised. And the morning pages are such that I got into the habit of, when I do my shut up and write in the morning, I can pull out the morning pages, and I can just start writing, and it keeps me from doing other stuff and get distracted. So building a habit part, I think, is coming along nicely.
Nice. What about the content?
She talks in this chapter about some of the cool things that are supposed to happen. I'm not sure if that's happened to me or not. How about you?
I've been avoiding them. I will do them, but I would not call them morning pages.
Afternoon pages?
Yes.
Do you do them before you start doing writing then? Do you do writing
Yes.
afterwards?
I've been avoiding that too, but I will do them. I just cannot bring myself to do stuff in the morning. The most I can get myself to do is to get out of the house and go for my hour workout. And that is hard enough.
Back when we were doing Bird by Bird, Lamont was basically, you need to come up with a habit, but it can be a habit when it works for you. And if your mornings just are not your creative time, if you're not motivated to be creative, then yeah, that'd be a great time to get other stuff out of the way.
Yeah. And so I know I am doing this wrong, but it's just the mornings aren't great for me. I was talking to a friend not too long ago about how some people are night owls and some people are like, morning people. And I always thought that I was a night owl because I would always stay up late. But then my husband, he goes to bed super early because he wakes up at like 5:30 in the morning to go to work. And so I just naturally now go to bed around the time he does. But if he goes on a work trip, within 24 hours, I am staying up late and sleeping in. Like it takes like no time at all for me to go back to that. And I'm wondering if maybe I should lean into that more. I might just be a night owl trying to force myself into a different rhythm, which is why my mornings are awful.
Have your mornings always been awful?
Yeah, I'm not a morning person. If I sleep in, it's okay usually, but I have an alarm. I set an alarm because if I don't, I don't want to sleep with my phone. So I have to have an alarm and I want to wake up and I have all these high hopes the night before. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to do things. It'll be great. And I wake up and I have a headache.
You might be just right. You're not a morning person. And that means the schedule is not going to work for you and you're going to have to adapt it. Part of the artist way idea is that you take yourself seriously enough to make demands.
So all right. Oh, but wait, did you do your artist date?
No, I didn't. I have not been doing artist dates. They're hard for me to do because I do enough fun stuff during the day. I feel really great that I get to go and do my exercise classes. I went out to the open studios they had in Santa Cruz. 2 weekends we went and did that. Or we went to San Francisco the other weekend. Like we do fun stuff together. And it feels kind of weird doing fun stuff by myself when I have so much I need to get done every day. Or when nobody else is around, that's my time to write. That's not my time to go out and do fun stuff.
I suspect that the artist date might be for people who don't give themselves permission to do fun things. You live in Santa Cruz. People who live in Santa Cruz, you're already fun and happy. And like everywhere is inspiration. And that's why people move here.
Most towns of this size do not have a dance week.
Yeah. So I think maybe the artist date is a little hard because we already do lots of fun stuff.
One thing an artist date can do is if you are in a very non-artistic job, a lot of obligations to family and other things, you might not actually let your brain open up to be creative. And setting an artist date is a time to let your brain open up being creative. Like having other artists around you makes you more productive. Just being around other artistic people is going to make me more productive than the artist date. I am doing an artist date tonight. I'm going to go see a guy that wrote a book about pasta. So I am going to do it. If I see something that looks interesting, that's one thing. But the act of like trying to go figure out something fun and interesting is almost too much work.
I did a thing that I laughed at in a previous episode. I roasted a chicken. I put a lemon in it and garlic. And I took my time, but I had fun.
What about the people that ate with you?
They loved it.
Okay.
But I was just like, I don't know if I'll make that stuff again.
I want to know if we experienced any synchronicity this week, like something wonderful happening to you that just like the stars aligned.
No. Although I did realize that I cannot do work in my house unless I have my own room. I have been leaning into going to cafes now.
I would say I have had a bit of synchronicity because I am going to World Fantasy Con in England. And when it came time to like sign up for stuff, I actually got put on 2 panels and I got a reading. And I think that everybody that signed up got a reading because there's about 30 reading sessions. So
what are the panels you're going to be on?
I'm going to be one on AI writing, one on LLMs and the writing industry. And the other one I'm going to be on is New Frontiers. So pushing the edge with fantasy and horror. I think it was pretty easy to get a spot for these things. So it wasn't like, the heavens opened up and I just got fabulously lucky. But I did keep saying to everything they said, would you like to do such and such? I said, yes.
So this is like hearkening back to the previous chapters where when you put yourself out there, suddenly the stars align and they appear, right?
Synchronicity, what she was talking about.
Yes, synchronicity, good, orderly. What's the
mind?
No, D. Starts with the D. Good, orderly, discipline.
Okay.
It's God instead of the God that I don't like.
Oh yeah, this is your substitute.
Yeah, my substitute. Anyway, the process put you out into the creative world. The creative world spoke back and they emailed you and asked you to be on panels.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Let's move on, yeah?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right, so now we are on week 4, and it starts with honest changes, real feelings versus official feelings.
Official feelings.
Yes, stamped and approved. She says that feeling okay. What do you mean by I feel okay? The morning pages force us to get specific. Does I feel okay mean I feel resigned, accepting, comfortable? What does it mean? Do the morning pages force us to get specific? I didn't know that there was a rule in your morning pages.
Well, there isn't a rule, but ...
I mean, did you find that you get more specific in your morning pages because just by act of doing them?
Like, when you're doing your morning pages, you said you use prompts, right?
I make something up in my head to respond to. If I don't do that, do you know what I do?
What do you do?
I write about why I don't want to write, or I write about my feelings. And you'd think, oh, this is exactly what the morning pages is about. But actually, it just makes me wallow. And it actually just put me in a bad mood.
Cameron's idea is that you do the morning pages, you express your feelings and your moods, and that somehow by doing this every day, you're going to work through it and come out better for it.
It just makes me complain. It doesn't make me better.
We're only on week 4, so technically she could be right but do you really want to put your family through that, Renee, for the next 8 weeks being crabby?
I'm not crabby. Okay, for you, do you feel the morning pages are helping you get more specific about your feelings?
Sometimes they ebb and flow. Each day is a little bit different. Some days it's almost, nothing useful at all, or it's just sometimes I'll work out parts of the story I'm working on. But other days, I will come upon something and say, let's address this thing that's been bothering me or whatever, and let's figure it out, and let's figure out kind of a way to go forward on it. So sometimes I have gotten kind of specific. And when I was feeling really blocked, I did write about it, and it did help. I wonder if you shouldn't spend a week. Just give yourself 1 week to write about your emotions every day and see if that makes a change.
Okay.
Not more than that. But you're not getting into that just like a meditation quality to it. And I'm not sure if by, imposing something you're going to think about, if you're not kind of diverting yourself from maybe something else that you need to think about.
It could be.
I have noticed that many tend to neglect or abandon the pages whenever an unpleasant piece of clarity is about to emerge. Her idea is that it's actually getting close to something. And if you keep going at it with your emotions, that there will be a moment of clarity where it all clicks together.
Maybe. The way she wrote it, I thought was so presumptuous. It was so rude. I was like, excuse me? Let's read this again. I have noticed that many tend to neglect or abandon the morning pages. Okay. Whenever an unpleasant piece of clarity is about to emerge. Excuse me, maybe we want to abandon it because it is not helpful or we don't like it, but it's not because somehow we're denying some kind of epiphany.
But that's the beautiful thing about the way she's writing, is that the proof that you don't feel like you're getting anything out of it shows that you're getting close to getting something out of it. You just give it that extra bit.
No, it was rude. That you don't see that as rude. Because it could be a lot of other things. But, oh, no, it's got to be because of this? I would say that, no, I'm not enjoying the morning pages, or I really wish I didn't have to do them. And it's not because there's some clarity I don't want to see. I go to therapy for that, okay? It's because it's just not doing anything. It feels like a waste of my time. But we'll keep going. Or not.
Well, I'm still in on this thing. If only because sometimes when we get to the end of a self-help book, there's some really weird shit you discover. So she has a quote by Chekhov. If you want to work on your art, work on your life. I did a Google search on this, and while this quote is attributed to Chekhov in many places, it's almost always in conjuncture with the artist's way. This book is popular enough that it skews the internet search results for a quote on Chekhov.
Damn. What is it about this book that is people must not really be reading it. That is my theory. They're just doing the exercises. Does this really speak to people? We are tempted always to reverse cause and effect. I was too crabby to write the morning pages. Instead of, I didn't write them, so I am crabby. That is, again, very presumptuous.
And it also doesn't make any sense.
You'll be crabby if you don't do the morning pages.
Well, she was talking about how you wouldn't do it because you didn't want to get close to something. And then she's talking about if you don't do them, you're crabby. So, I don't know. She talks about something called kira, a Sanskrit word meaning a spiritual energy or surrender. I always think of Kiraz as spiritual seizures.
I get the feeling that she's very much in love with herself.
Self-love is important.
Yes, but it comes across as a bloated sense of ego.
She does mention in 12-step groups, Kiras are often called surrenders. People are just told to just let it go as you're making progress through it. And then she talks about various things that happen, like we become available in the moment. Until we experience the freedom of solitude, we cannot connect authentically. I like that quote, actually.
Yeah, I understand that. But I would attribute that not so much to journaling, but to meditation.
That's something central. A lot of these things she talks about in this section are something that I have experienced when I did my first organized meditation. There was a group that got together. It was a very experienced meditation leader. And we also had like recordings that we did during the week. So I was a pretty intense amount of meditation.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. And I'd never taken a class of meditation. I'd never taken a real serious approach to it. Way I saw myself, the way that I perceived things, the way I interacted with people, it changed a lot. So if this book can do that for people, that's very powerful. But also it's one of the things that kind of happens once. If it's done right, you shouldn't have to do it again.
Oh, interesting.
I think that I've meditated after that, and I've gotten stuff out of meditation, and it helps me reconnect with that particular mindset I had when I was doing that meditation. But really, the first one was kind of the critical one.
So are you, since you've been through that experience, are you seeing parallels between that experience and going through this book?
Well, like she said, this one, that quote I read about the experience of freedom of solitude, we cannot connect authentically. Presence, this is who I am. This is what my actual goal is. This is how I see myself doing this goal. That opening up, yeah.
Would you suggest that people do that 10-week meditation or do this book instead to achieve that?
If you do a 10-week meditation with a practitioner that's really good, surrounded by a bunch of people that are doing it, it's like a really good critique group. You just get more out of it because there's more people and everyone's doing it together. I would go for the meditation, but not everyone has access to somebody that's running a group like that and has the time and all the other stuff.
So far, I just don't know if this book can help anyone achieve that. Mm-hmm. Maybe it can, but I think it is, again, presumptuous for this person to be claiming that it can.
We can either say Julia Cameron is one big liar.
Yeah.
And this is all a big scam.
Yeah.
And why are we reading this stuff?
Yeah.
Or you can say, well, she did teach a bunch of classes in this.
No.
She has interacted with people in her class. She has had the people that it worked for coming up and telling her it was great, and the ones that didn't work just kind of left class at the end of class and then she didn't see them again. She has had people read this book and tell her that it's been magical and wonderful.
At least she claims that they did. Like that diplomat in Sweden or whatever.
Switzerland. Crazier things have happened. So we're not going to get very far if we keep reading this as a scam.
Okay,
we have to think that there is somebody out there that this works for. Someone who has an unexamined life,
right.
Who's always had this artistic feeling but has been suppressed for years and years and is not very happy with life, but just kind of plodding on, and suddenly doing the morning pages is the first time that they've really started examining who they are and what they're feeling and actually addressing the things that they're feeling.
So that is the intended reader of this book?
That is definitely the intended reader at this point.
Someone who doesn't have access to a lot of those things or hadn't thought to do any of those things. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're kind of even a beginner to the process of being creative.
Right.
Okay.
And, and they don't get any support from people around them, and they're just feeling like they don't have this in them, this artistic thing. But there's something's wrong. They know that, but they don't know how to express it or where it comes from. This kind of book would be a starting point. And you have to kind of start big. Like, you're in a very supportive artistic environment, you can start by saying, well, I'm going to do knitting with a bunch of friends and then move on from there. But if you're not in a supportive environment, then maybe you do need to do like a huge thing.
Maybe. Okay. Well, I'm going to come down a little bit and like try to put myself into the needs of somebody who's kind of new to the process of creativity.
And she also says, if this description sounds dramatic, it only prepare you for possible emotional pyrotechnics. You may not have them.
Right. I've just never wanted to skim a chapter so bad in my life.
Oh, this one's got some interesting stuff in it, though. Yeah. So she does say that, as you're doing this, you'll see certain things like change in energy patterns. Half your wardrobe may start to look funny. I think that being a woman means half your wardrobe looks funny. Why did I buy this?
Right.
You may find your candor unsettling. I don't like that is a sentence that will leave your mouth. Or, I think that's great. So we're talking about people that really don't feel comfortable expressing what they like and don't like to the people around them.
I'm gonna switch a complaint, not just presumptuousness. Are you sure the morning pages is not just therapeutic journaling, but something she just renamed, kind of like Slim Fast? But
What was Slim Fast before it was Slim Fast?
Slim Fast, you had a breakfast and you would have your Slim Fast, and then you would have a quote unquote sensible
Like
dinner.
that weird milkshake thing.
Yeah, it was like usually chocolate or vanilla, and it was supposed to replace a meal. It had all the vitamins and stuff. Then the entrepreneurs showed up 20 years later, and they did the exact same thing, only they called it something else. They called it Huel. And then now there's a whole bunch on the market where they're like, yeah, you have this instead of a meal, and it's supposed to have all the vitamins, but it's not called Slim Fast. But that's what Slim Fast was. So we've already done this. They're just repackaging it. Rebranding and reselling it when we've already had that. She's making claims that these morning pages do all of these things. And I'm not saying that they don't. Psychiatrists and therapists do encourage people to do therapeutic journaling because it really is a thing. So it's the journaling that's doing it. But the fact that she's rebranded it and making claims as if
She came up with this.
She came up with this. I did this thing. These morning pages are kind of my creation, and look at all the benefits you get from it, and they can all be attributed to me. When it's daily journaling, and that's going to help you eventually.
Yeah. No. Daily journaling is pretty much what it is. And I hear people also say, I'm going to do my daily journaling, and then I'm going to do my writing. Morning pages is nice because it's got 3 pages and then you're done. But you have to do 3 pages. Because you can do morning journaling for half a page or for 18 pages, it might not be as good for a productivity starter as morning pages.
Well, Huel has pumpkin spice, right? So no, I don't know. Actually, I don't. I was just joking. But yes, the morning pages, it does have kind of like a beginning. It's like you do it for a half hour or a few pages and then you're done.
I don't have a problem with rebranding. Sometimes it's nicer when something feels fresh and new and not something your mother did.
Like Slim Fast. I had a question for you, Kim.
Okay.
So she says, if you look over the time you have been doing your morning writing, you will see that many changes have entered your life as a result of your willingness to clear room in it for your creator's action. You will have noticed an increased, sometimes disconcerting sense of personal energy, some bursts of anger, some flash points of clarity. People and objects may take on different meaning to you. There will be a sense of flow of your life that you have brought into new vistas as you surrender to moving into the flow of God. Do you find this to be true?
I have not found that to be true. I've fixed enough things in my life that I don't need to have that major of a fix. But I remember when I was doing meditation that it did feel that way. Also, she talks about one technique that can be very reassuring at this point is to use your morning pages or part of them for written affirmations on your progress. And I have found this is pretty good, actually. Partly because, if I'm getting into the minutia, it's a good way to launch off my pages. So I get about 2.5 pages in. And I'm like, okay, for the last bit of the page, I'm just going to write affirmations again and again and again about, how I'm going to handle this writing, how I'm going to do. I'm really good at this. A nice little launching point because I'm writing it, and I put down the morning pages and I start my actual book.
Does it work?
I think it does, actually.
You're getting more positive, so the affirmations are helping.
Yeah, I think it's not a bad idea. And I wouldn't have done it in a regular journal because it looks stupid. But since the morning pages are going to get tossed.
Do you really throw them out? Or are they in a journal and you just throw the whole journal out?
I'm going to throw it. They're in a composition book, and I'll throw the composition book out. I'll burn them.
Buried dreams and exercise.
Okay, this is the set of lists. She says, was it spontaneous? What's it called when you just write responses to something off the top of your head?
Be fast. List 5 hobbies that sound fun. And the next one is list 5 classes that sound fun. Or list 5 things you personally would never do. That sounds fun. But you have to write these 5 things as fast as humanly possible.
What are your 5 things that you personally would never do that sound fun?
I said open a bakery, open a tea shop, go bungee jumping, sign up for a German class. You go to Germany and you're there for 10 weeks in a dorm and you learn German.
I wrote skydiving, building a house, programming a game, gambling, and skateboarding.
Gambling sounds fun.
You look at the gambling hotels and everyone rolling the dice, and it looks like fun.
Okay. I just see the deadness in their eyes behind the slot machine.
Well, I watch different movies. The James Bond movies make it look really fun.
Oh, yeah. They look really cool.
Or the con movies or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. The real gambling.
5 silly things that you would like to try once. This is what scares me because I feel like I'd write some down, and then later in the book she's going to say, okay, now one of those ones, you got to do it. And I'm like, oh, no.
I actually didn't do that. I didn't do the 5 things for that one. I only did a few of these. Was I supposed to do them all?
I wrote down owning an exotic pet,
Nice.
cosplaying, being in a parade, roller derby.
Oh, I've always wanted to do roller derby.
I'm not going to do roller derby. I read it as almost 5 silly things you would have liked to have tried once.
Yeah.
Again, this is like you lead a really boring life and you've always wanted to do a hot air balloon ride. Then maybe you should do a hot air balloon ride.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like that big, brave step.
Right.
To both give yourself something fun and to make it something momentous.
How about list 5 classes? That sound fun.
Roman history, hip hop, ecology, philosophy, and poetry.
Whoa.
What'd you write?
Beginners sketching, Tai Chi, printing croissants, and cake decorating.
Well, I could see you actually signing up for some of those.
I probably should sign up for some of those.
At some point, I'm going to take a hip hop class.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll go to your recital.
Then she comes to the one that is rather outrageous. Reading deprivation. So she advises taking a week and not reading anything.
Are we really going to do that?
No.
Right.
But 30 years ago, and you just went to the library to get books, and maybe you checked your email, but like that was something you did on the side because it still wasn't the primary way. It's your mother and everybody else in the world got a hold of you. I think you probably could have said, okay, I'm just not going to read.
That would have been a better piece of advice. Why she chose reading, I have no idea.
Every single writing book out there says, it's really critical to read. That in the height of my writing block, where I just really wasn't writing, I sat down and plowed through a lot of romance books in a weekend. And I loved it. It was delightful. But I will say that there's kind of a mindless reading that I will do, equivalent to watching television or watching YouTube videos. But since I'm better at knowing that's not a good thing, but reading a book is always okay.
Right.
And sometimes I will just read and read and read, not actively, but just because I need something soothing and I don't want to think about other stuff.
Right. And maybe she's trying to get people to stop doing that.
Yeah, it has sapped my productivity, partly because it takes a while to do. So it's taking time away. And also because like I'm so invested in somebody else's writing that I'm not working on my own.
Right.
Do you feel like you ever read too much?
No. There was a quote I read. I don't know who wrote it, but it was something like, a day spent reading is never a day wasted. We don't read enough. I was a reading teacher. Students right now in public education, they can't read. Our reading scores are so low. The last thing you want to tell somebody to do is not to read.
Well, the majority of people read hardly anything at all. A much smaller portion of people actually read a lot. And some of them read a whole lot. So I don't think Julia Cameron is advocating for the large part of the American public that should just read a book once a month. This isn't for those people. If you are a bookworm and you just read books continuously and you don't get around to doing other stuff.
I mean, if you're doing it to avoid work, yeah, but that's true with anything.
Right. Reading feels like it's a better way to avoid work than a lot of other stuff.
This is the 30th anniversary edition. I don't think much has changed, to be perfectly honest, but I can't compare it because I don't have another book of hers besides the introduction changing. I would say, hey, Julia Cameron, if you're listening to this podcast, don't do reading deprivation, do screen deprivation. That is going to have a way better impact than telling people not to read.
No, you're completely right. Yeah, it's that instantaneous. I click on something, I read this, I click on something. It just becomes almost noise in my mind as I spend time doing it. If you did it on a device, you'd not only be hitting mindless reading on websites, you'd also be hitting your YouTube and your social media. I'm wondering if we shouldn't do that as an exercise.
I would love that exercise.
But like to give yourself 3 days where you don't touch your screen at all.
Well, I mean, you have to text people back.
Maybe you just tell everyone you're not going to text them.
Unfortunately, it has become so integral to our lives. I mean, I'm already thinking of all the people that probably need to get a hold of me. I've got things I have to approve. Should we pay this bill? Why, yes, we should pay this bill. It has to happen. And I've got people waiting on me for that to go through. So
when you go camping, do you cut off all screens?
I will, but it's usually on a weekend. And the weekend, most people aren't working. And so I don't have to worry about those kinds of things. It is nice. I really hate the phone. People are like, oh, if you're looking for a couch, go on Facebook Marketplace. I'm like, no, I don't like Facebook and I don't want them being integral. Like we have to go there to do those things. Google and all of them have made themselves so necessary that we can't detach ourselves. I think if we did it within limits, if your son needed to get a hold of you at school, but you're not looking at your text messages.
Right. No, it's people get a hold of you through your phone. But still, that I do think that's what she's talking about here.
I marked this because I thought it was very odd.
Okay.
She said, reading deprivation is a very powerful tool and a very frightening one. Even thinking about it can bring up enormous rage. Well, I think that's what we're doing right now. For most blocked creatives, reading is an addiction. We gobble the words of others rather than digest our own thoughts and feelings, rather than cook up something of our own. So does reading do this?
When I was reading those romance books, yes, it was. I was gobbling up somebody else's ideas and story and world. But I'm not sure if that necessarily destroys your creativity. I mean, the whole culture of fan fiction is based on people reading stuff they really like and then writing about it.
And being very creative.
Yes, and being very creative about it. On the other hand, if what you're doing is trying to avoid your own world that you're building by being in somebody else's world where they've worked it all out, then yeah, I mean, it's avoidance.
It's so weird that she's attacking reading of all things.
Mm.
I mean, it's not like we didn't have TV 30 years ago.
Yeah, the updated version of this would refer to screens, but at the same time, it's even harder to put them down. Like here she's saying, oh, of course you can do it. People say they can't do it. If you say you can't do it, then you really need to do it kind of thing. No.
I mean, she says, when the rage has been vented, when all the assigned reading for college courses and jobs has been mentioned, I point out that I have had jobs and I have gone to college and that in my experience, I had many times wriggled out of reading for a week due to procrastination. No, do not do that. If you were a student, bad advice. That's very bad advice. Don't just stop reading for your classes. Damn it. Don't do that. Did I ever tell you that my husband told me that, at one time, I'm like, I've assigned them reading and all these things and they're not doing very well. And he turned to me, he goes, did it occur to you that like just because you assign it doesn't mean they're doing it? And I was like, oh my God.
They're not dumb. They're just not reading it.
Oh my God. Oh, they didn't do the reading. I was just one of those students who did all the reading because I was told to do it. So I did it because if I followed all these rules, it would turn out okay.
That's a whole nother self-help book.
But I would just say that I do not think this is very good advice.
Apparently, some of the things you do when you're not reading is you can get the stereo working. She says,
you could program your VCR.
She says, sort bookshelves, parentheses, a dangerous one.
This is actually bad for me because I will avoid writing by doing this stuff. Reorganize the pantry.
So in a way, she's saying, take this one writing procrastination device and substitute these other writing procrastination device. At least your kitchen will look nice.
Okay, so somehow there's a method to this madness, and she says the nasty bottom line is this. Sooner or later, if you are not reading, you will run out of work and be forced to play. No, I will find work. There's work everywhere. It's never done.
Or the opposite side of it, my younger son, I've often contemplated like taking away all his screens and just the idea that at a certain point he'd get bored enough that he would do something. And yet I know if I were to do that, he would still just be lying on his giant beanbag, just kind of chilling.
He wouldn't be bored?
He'd be bored, but he'd be bored in a lazy way that wouldn't get him up doing anything.
That's weird.
Yeah, he just kind of shuts down.
Your discussion reminded me of this scene in South Park. So in one of these episodes, one of the kids started smoking pot. And Randy kept telling him throughout the episode, oh, pot makes you go crazy. It makes you want to jump off a cliff. But it's like, parents scaring the crap out of their kids trying to get them to do it. Well, he kept doing it. And finally, at the end of the episode, there's this scene where he's with his parents and the parents are like, look, son, we're sorry we lied about the effects of marijuana. Yes, we were trying to scare you, and that's not what we should have done. The real reason we don't want you smoking pot is because pot makes you okay with being bored. We want you to be bored and do something about it. We don't want to just sit there and be okay with it because then you won't be a productive person. You won't be interesting. You're just lying a puddle of being high all the time. And of course, the kid's like, well, if you just told me that in the first place, blah, blah, blah. But I really believe it's true.
It's rather scary how intelligent small bits of South Park can be.
I think that if you could put yourself in a position where you were bored, like on purpose, your brain will try to fill it up with something creative. It will. But if we're always looking at our screens, we're never truly bored and being okay with that.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the message here. often people will pick up a book because if you're holding the book, then nobody else is going to bother you for a while. So if you're putting away the device and putting away the screen, and now you're being obligated to do more things around the house or for work, I could see that private time that you take from reading being lost and having to do more stuff. You'd have to be protective of the time that you were getting away from the screen to do creative stuff as well.
And note that pretty much all of the things she has listed here, she has quite a few things listed here, like listen to music, make curtains, wash the dogs, short closets. All of them are physical. So in a way, it's almost like just making you more present. These are all physical things that are not happening inside your brain.
Yeah.
So maybe that has something to do with it. Like she's saying don't read, but really she's just saying be present.
Yeah. Meditation.
Which again, if she would cite where she's getting her ideas, I think that would have been helpful for people to understand why this works. Not just making all these claims that it does and it all comes from her. If maybe she had said, this comes from the meditative practices that we learned are scientifically like valid and really work. And if you do these things, that to me is more valuable than just saying, ShamWow, it really works. Look at me do this, thing on TV, which has clearly been edited. And tasks, did you do any of them?
No, not really, but I was going to take number one.
No, we not do any of these.
Number one is environment. Describe your ideal environment. Town, country, swank, cozy. One paragraph, one image drawn or clipped that conveys this. What is your favorite season? Why? Go through the magazine to find an image of this or draw it or place it near your work area. And I was doing this when I was thinking, I kind of do have my ideal little space.
What is it?
Well, this little space here.
This, you've actually created it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like she's talking about like I've got my pictures of things. I've got my characters from my book, and I've got a neat poster that I got years ago, and I've got all my stuff that I need to access right here. A drawer to put all the junk in so the desk isn't too crowded. So I feel like I've done this stuff, so I don't need to talk about it anymore.
Okay.
But you are going to get your workspace back. So are there any particular changes or things you're going to do to make that space be your creative space?
Well, it just so happens that my brother, special needs, needed a place to stay, and it's been almost a year. And when he moved in, I had just bought a brand new desk. And I had learned that a big desk is actually bad for me because I just fill it with a bunch of crap. A small desk is perfect. That's what I need. And then I can just focus on that's it. And then he moved in. Getting rid of the bed. I'm going to be moving in a couch, which is exactly what I personally want. I don't need a bed. I need a couch because I like working on a couch.
You don't need any more house guests.
Well, I mean, people can sleep on the couch. That's people have slept on that couch. So the couch is going to be the bed for people. It is still going to be a guest room when it has to be, but I want it to be more of like a room where I go, and that's where I go to work. Mm-hmm. I go to work in that room, and that's it.
With your small, clean desk.
With my small, clean desk and my couch, because I like to work on the couch. And Kim knows this because whenever we go on a retreat together, she makes sure I have a very, very comfy spot on a couch.
Yep.
Yeah. And you've been very good at that. Like every couch has been amazing, Kim.
Yeah. None of those cheap IKEA bad couches.
No.
Something good.
Yeah. Something good. And so I like a couch. I don't want to sit on the bed. It just makes me sleepy. I guess my ideal space would be, I like cozy. I like to lean in to my neuroses. I'm a very maximalist person. I want to fill every single space on the wall that I can with art, with fun. How fun can I make this? I just put up all the art. I fill up every space so that every time I have to look up from the desk to take a break, I go, oh, that's my cool bat picture I got. Oh, that's that cool little cat donut I got from the Seattle market. I like the second one where it said time travel. Describe yourself at 80. What did you do after 50 that you enjoyed? Be very specific. Now, write a letter from you at 80 to you at your current age. What would you tell yourself? What interests would you urge yourself to pursue? And what dreams would you encourage?
Did you do that?
I thought about it. Didn't write it down. Maybe I should have. It's unclear in this book whether you're supposed to write this. If you're not supposed to necessarily do it in your morning pages. Mm-hmm. She did say describe in a paragraph, so that was very specific. But this next one, describe yourself at 80. Well, how many paragraphs do I write? Do I do a journal entry on this? It's unclear her prompts, what she's asking you to do. Mm-hmm. But it's just this memento mori, I guess. The end of your life is 80, which I think is kind of a rude thing to say. But I liked it. I thought it was cool. I think it's good to have a perspective of your future self looking back. You do favors for your future self all the time, right? But your future self knows more than you do. You know, don't you ever think you'll wish you had done things and you didn't?
No.
What do you mean, no? You really never think about yourself on your
my deathbed
going, I wish I would have blank.
No. I mean, I sometimes think about my spouse dies before me and then what things I'll miss doing with him. I don't know. I mean, I guess I always figure that part of being dead is I don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. I mean, what good would it do at that point? I mean, you're dying anyway. Why be miserable about something you didn't do that you're obviously, in a way, when you can't do something, it's kind of a release. Like, I am not going to do roller derby. That's past this point. That ship has sailed. It's not going to happen. I don't have to angst about it at all.
By the way, one of the joys of podcasting is
A leaf blower.
A leaf blower. Okay, so just...
Yeah.
You're wondering what that noise is.
It was mowing earlier today, so this is better than that. Anyway,
so I do think about that quite a bit. If I'm 80, will I look back on my life and go, damn it, I should have blank?
My mother likes to bring up her death pretty much every time we see her.
When you're 80, you're going to do that to your kids.
When I'm dead?
Dead? Your mom? No.
My mother
bring up your death. When you are a grandparent.
I'm going to bring up to my kids whenever I'm talking to them about, what I want for end of life sorts of stuff, just to make sure they don't get it wrong.
Yes. My mom did that all the time. What does your mom want?
Oh, she doesn't want to be buried because she can't stand the idea of being cold. She wants to be cremated.
Nice
and hot.
Yes, I want to be cremated too, just because it's less fuss.
And she doesn't want to be on a ventilator because she was a nurse, so she's seen. She doesn't want to be on life support.
Yeah, that's wise. Anyway, I do think about it. At the end of my life, am I going to look back and be disappointed in present Renee?
I've been recently kind of having a kind of doomsday scenario like that. If the entire civilization collapsed, what thing am I doing right now that I'd really miss? Buying kitchen cleaner and cleaning my kitchen. Like all those small things that I take for granted, but is so remarkable that you can do it so easily. But that's different. That's
Are we thinking zombie apocalypse here? Are we thinking tsunami wave and you're dead?
No, I'm thinking like wars and global warming and a destruction of the economy and that.
So you're like, a survivor.
Doomsday. Not a survivor. I don't actually think about how I'd be surviving. I just think about all the stuff I'd be missing.
So I'd be missing hot water.
Yeah.
Like running water, toilets,
flushing,
toilets.
Garbage collection.
I don't want to worry about those things, though. I don't want to think about. That's not the kind of stuff I like to think about.
You'd rather think about how you screwed up in your life. You didn't do stuff that you wanted to do.
I need pressure. Somehow I need pressure to do those things. Like getting through college with my history, I had to think about my future self. I'm doing this for my future self. I can't be on my deathbed going, I could have gone to college and got my shit together, and I didn't. So,
as a parent, I've often thought, what should I do for my kids to make sure they're in a good situation?
Right, you're thinking of their future selves.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking of your future self. This is fascinating.
I know.
It's so weird.
We know each other so well, and yet. Still surprising each other.
It's true. It's kind of like we're married.
But we only see each other once every 2 weeks or a week.
Yeah, I know.
So anyway, I think let's keep going. We got week 5, week 6.
I am so for combining these chapters. Kim wants to keep going week by week.
We still have to do a week at a time anyway.
Yes, that's true.
There's plenty to complain about inside the chapters.
I know. I hope it's fun, dear listener. The next week, week 5, is recovering a sense of possibility. The task we're going to give ourselves for this next week is we have to limit our screens to things that only are necessary, which means no scrolling.
So I need to figure out kind of a framework for how long I can stay off the devices.
I'm going to check my messages in the morning, but then put my phone away. I'm going to swear off YouTube and no scrolling.
How many days are you going to do it for?
5 days.
5 days. Okay.
So we were talking about gambling earlier and those dead eyes that people have in front of those flashing lights on the slot machine. Did you know that the phone, the way it scrolls and all that stuff, that was designed to be a slot machine. That addiction we have is the exact same addiction people have in the slot machine. Now, you might not be a gambler, so that dead look in their eyes when you're standing at the supermarket is you scrolling on Reddit. These screens are really messed up. I mean, we have regulations when it comes to alcohol. We have regulations when it comes to marijuana. But somehow it's the Wild West with the phone. They can make it as addictive as possible. It just doesn't seem like it's addictive.
Yeah, that is a good point.
So lean into boredom. That's the key. I'm going to do 5 days. What are you going to do? How is it going to look like for you?
I've got a con. We'll see. I'm going to stick with my morning pages, but I don't know how much more of I can get to than that. But we'll come back and we'll find out how your screen time Shabbat has worked.
Shabbat.
Well, that will be for next week. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Words to Write By is produced by Renee Nelson and Kim Smiga Allen. Our theme music is Roll Back the Carpet by Cool Cat Music. Have a great day.
And then I ate it, and that's when the sadness began, because I'm like, well, this isn't a baked good, and it's just okay. That was a lot of work for something that turned out to be just okay. And I trusted you, Ina Garten. You let me down.